You're never going to get what you truly want in life unless you have free choice. And if you think that you have free choice, you're wrong. Meaning that it's not until you can disassociate from the thoughts in your mind, the mind itself, that you can truly have free choice. Because as long as you continue to identify with the mind, you're going to be running on automatic programming from the past. Programming that's been instilled in you since you were a baby, in various ways, just from the way you're brought up, from media, from schooling, religion, etc., etc., where our minds are like these computers, right? And they're constantly being programmed. And the way we experience life is filtered through these programs, through these systems. And so when you think that you're making a decision and you think you have free choice, honestly, for most people, it's not. It's all being filtered through this system. And so once you can now understand that this mind is a very useful and necessary mechanism, it's not there, though, for my happiness, for my fulfillment. And there's things in there that maybe don't serve me. There's things in there that maybe contribute to my suffering and my misery. Then what you realize is that you can change that. Okay, so bottom line is, what you really want is to experience more joy, more love, peace, even power and wisdom. Then that's going to require you to get in touch with your higher self. And the beautiful thing about that is you don't have to go and find your higher self. Your higher self is who you were when you came to this earth. But what happens is we've just been programmed so much over the decades that we just disconnect from that. And we don't even recognize it. And so we think that we have to go and find ourselves outside of ourselves. But really where you need to be looking is inside. And so the beautiful thing about it is that you don't really have to do anything. So this concept, what I'm about to share with you, can be very, very powerful in your life. I know it was for me. Is it the absolute truth? No, I don't even know what the truth is. All I'm suggesting is that this is something that can be of service, of value to you. So have an open mind to try it on. And if you derive value from it, then keep the tool. And if not, you can just throw it away. So there's two parts to your brain, one of them being called the mammalian brain. This is the oldest part of your brain, and that's why it's known as the reptilian brain. And its focus is your survival. It wants to keep you alive, and thumbs up for that. We definitely like that. But what's important to understand is that all information gets processed through this part of your brain. Remember, that primary function of it is to separate and direct the flow of information to other parts of your brain. So everything goes through this part of your brain, and it's getting filtered through the perspective of survival and therefore fear. Okay, so I really want you to get that, okay? This part of your brain, because it's very focused on your survival, that's really its ultimate goal, is survival above all else. That means everything that gets processed first gets processed through the perspective of survival. Is this a threat or is it not? And survival, therefore fear, meaning that the fear is a signal to you on, whether or not you should get the hell out of there, and whether that fear is rational or not is not the point. Okay, we have a lot of irrational fears. We're not running away from saber-toothed tigers, but the mammalian brain was around when that stuff existed, and it hasn't evolved since then. So now our fears are, oh, I'm not going to make the deadline for work. Oh, my friend is, not being nice. Oh, my relationship is struggling. So we have these fears, and it cripples us with anxiety. And so, you're not alone if a good portion of your day you're experiencing anxiety or high levels of fear. A lot of people can relate to that because we all have this brain. We all have this mammalian brain, and a lot of us don't understand it and don't know how we can control it more. So this is the funny part, is that we're off in the world and we're seeking the things that we want. And, maybe it's like the fancy car and the house and the career and the family and all of that. But like when we really peel the layers of the onion, we realize that all of the material things that we want them for the way that we think those things will make us feel. So when you peel the onion layers and you get to the core, you realize that we're just searching for feelings, for certain emotions. So it's a sense of joy, it's a sense of peace, a sense of love, fulfillment, etc. These are the things that we really want in life. And so the funny thing is that we're using this tool called the mind to try and get us there. But what we just learned is that the mind doesn't really care about those things. The mind cares about your survival. And so that's why when you feel like there's so much resistance in life, it's because you're not understanding the way your brain works and how you can work with it or how you can work around it. So you're using the wrong tool to search for those things. Einstein said that you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it. And so this is where like all of the programming from the past comes in, right? When you were a baby, your survival mind was saying, okay, I need food. What can I do to get food? And all of a sudden you learn that, hey, crying gets you food. If I scream really, really loud, I'll get what I want. And a lot of us today are, a lot older adults and still have the same habits, do the same things, just in a different way. To get what I want, I need to be the loudest person in the room, or sometimes I need to be the victim, or whatever you learned as a child throughout your growing up, throughout your different experiences, all of these things, they programmed you. And so what happens is that now in our adult lives, we think that we are making these choices and have freedom of choice, but really we are making all these choices. We are reacting in life based on the programming of the past, but it doesn't have to be that way. So you can either learn to recondition your mind by recording over the old tape, and you're not the tape, you're the tape recorder. You've just been playing the tape. The tape is the programming of the past. So you can learn to recondition your mind and maybe change limiting beliefs and change some programming and reprogram it with things that are going to support you in life. And I've done my fair share of that. I spent many years doing that. Tony Robbins, teaches that stuff. Or what you can do, and what I've been focused on now, is bypassing that fear system altogether. Bypassing it and actually just getting in touch with your higher self. And it is a shortcut, but it's something that requires dedication and commitment, because it's not like you're just gonna one day be like, okay, I'm in touch with my higher self and the fear mind is gone. I mean, people spend lifetimes trying to disassociate from the ego mind and trying even to have moments free from the ego. So this isn't something that can happen overnight, and maybe it does for some, I don't know, but just understand that it's a commitment. But the rewards are there to reap. So the good news, the positive news, is that your true self is not something that you need to go out and find, although a lot of us seem to be finding ourselves in the world. Your true self is just something that you need to reconnect with. You came onto this earth, this pure little baby, but over the years, the ego mind has developed and you've grown further and further apart from your true self, because most of us didn't spend any time trying to connect with it. And so all you got to do now is learn how to reconnect with that self. And it's just inside of you, okay? It's who you truly are at your core, behind all of those onion layers. And one of the most direct ways to connect with it is to quiet the mind. And that's why when you see enlightened monks and they figured out that meditation has been a very powerful practice for them. And the beautiful thing is that it doesn't matter what your religion is, you can practice meditation. Meditation, to me at least, is really just sitting down by myself and just being in silence and noticing what happens in the mind and just becoming the observer, just becoming aware. Okay, all of a sudden I realize, wow, I've got a lot of fears around this. The things that you most fear when you're sitting in silence, they pop up. And all of a sudden you become aware of those things. Awareness is so powerful if you want to become more conscious. And so you just sit there and you just become aware of it, and you let those thoughts run its course. You don't attach to them. You don't create meanings about them. You don't identify with them. And so you become the observer. It's kind of like you're sitting down and you're watching the clouds. And guess what? The clouds pass. Okay, and they pass, and you become the watcher of the mind. And then eventually you get to this place where you really feel in touch with your true or higher self. And everyone will call this something different. Some people will call it, God. Some people will call it source energy. Some people will call it the universe. Everyone has a different name for it, but it's this undeniable feeling that you are connected to something far greater than you. And the way I think I can best describe it is by illustrating the picture for you of an ocean. We all know what an ocean looks like, how vast it is, how big it is. And if you take a cup and you fill it with some water from that ocean, now you've got a cup of water from that ocean. And in the same sense, you are a cup of the original source. And so when you can clear the chatter from the mind and tune in, then you can get in touch with that source. And that's when you can truly be empowered. Because from that place, there is creation. From that place, there is unconditional love. And it's from that place that magic starts to unfold in your life. So if you want to, I kind of title this kind of catchy, to get what you want in life. But really what I'm referring to is to experience those things that we want to feel. The emotions of love and joy and peace and contribution and fulfillment and all of that. Really, it's just getting in touch with who you really are. And by doing that, your perspective in life will change. And so the things that stirred up fear and anxiety before, now, instead of just being reactive to those things, having an emotional response to those things, being totally out of control, now what you have is this superpower ability to just observe it. Those things will still come up until with time, and eventually you can decondition it, but those things will still come up. Those fears, anxieties, I'm not saying you're not going to have any fear. We're always going to have fear, but you don't identify with it the way you did before, and therefore it doesn't take you out. Okay, it's just another emotion. And it's important to experience emotion in life. I'm not saying you shouldn't experience emotion. I'm actually, I talk a lot about how it's important to experience the full range of emotions. In our lives, we often want to only experience a small subgroup of emotions, but what we don't see is that emotions are like this beautiful circle, and on one end on one half there's all these positive ones that we call positive, on the other ones all these negative ones that we try and run away from. But in order to experience the positive, you have to know what the negative feels like. And so in order to experience happiness, you have to have experienced sadness. If you've never experienced sadness, you don't really appreciate the happiness on the same level. There's no contrast there. So there's value in experiencing all the emotions and allowing yourself to experience the emotions, because when you allow yourself to experiencing them, instead of trying to suppress them or to distract yourself and run away from them, when you allow yourself to experience them, they will run their course. Okay? And you're not going to be plagued with these resentments and emotions that get suppressed, and oftentimes get suppressed in the body. And that's why if you go for a very powerful massage, sometimes you'll end up crying on the massage table because there's emotions that's been stored in different parts of your body. And if you have a lot of that, that can manifest in disease. This is what I want to share with you guys. Science tells us that everything in the universe is energy, everything. So there's no exceptions to this. And I think that's a really powerful understanding, because that means that everything that we say has energy, our thoughts have energy, and the way that we experience the world and what we put out into the world. And so if you want to live in a state of flow instead of having so much resistance in your life, the secret is really to get in touch with that energy of your true self or your higher self, or whatever word you want to use. I mean, I'm using this word because this is something that some people can understand more. It's more of a popular term. Again, hopefully, if this works for you, great. If not, no problem, no hard feelings. But thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. And leave me a comment below. I love reading all of your comments. And if you have questions, I'll be happy to answer them as well. I'll see you later.